Hello, YouTube. This is Tyson from TVEnthusiast, along with Will from TVEnthusiast.
Hello.
And today we are going to be going over Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 4, titled The Spoils of War. We're going to be talking about just one part of the episode. We're going to be talking about the stuff happening in Winterfell. Now, I know that a lot of people are probably more excited about another thing that happened in the episode. We'll be talking about that in our podcast, as well as the rest of the episode. But we just kind of want to focus on things that we can kind of get like an interesting conversation going on. And so we decided to pick the scene in Winterfell to focus on for this week.
I think this is something that people watching the show have been waiting for a long time. They sort of teased it in an earlier season around the Red Wedding.
Yes.
Yeah, they sort of teased it around there, but it didn't end up happening because of the Red Wedding. But now it's finally happened, so this is a long time coming. And that event is...
So the scene we're talking about is Arya returning to Winterfell. The scene kicks off. We see Arya. She's on her way back. She can see Winterfell on the horizon. She's looking off in the distance. She's looking a little melancholic about it. She's like happy, but at the same time, it's like this. So much has happened along her path on her way back. And she shows up. She gets to the castle gate. She's gets stopped by the guards there, who aren't necessarily all that competent.
No,
and,
they're idiots. They won't let her in. They think she's lying about who she is. They're just being real assholes.
They think she's some like gutter rat or something from some other small village pretending to be Arya. And they're like, well, Arya Stark is dead. And she's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, well, then get, these people and get the Maester Lewin and have him come here and he'll recognize me. And they're like, we don't know no Maester Lewin. There's a different Maester here. And then we know, of course, Maester Lewin died. She also mentions the head of the Winterfell guard who died as well. He was killed by Theon in season 2.
Right.
So there's a lot that Arya doesn't know that's happened since then, like a lot's changed.
Yeah, lots different.
Finally, she convinces them to let her in, and they say that they're going to go get Sansa and see if it's even worth doing or something. And then, wait here while we do that. They start arguing with each other over which one is going to go get her. They turn around and Arya's pulled her ninja act and she's just gone.
Yeah, she's just gone. She disappears. they go tell Sansa what happened, and Sansa knows immediately where to find Arya.
And that it is Arya based on things they mentioned. So
yeah, based on the things that they mentioned, yeah.
So Sansa goes down to the crypts. She sees Arya. Arya sees Sansa and says, so am I going to have to call you a lady now? And Sansa says yes, and then starts laughing, and they hug each other.
It's a good reunion. They look upon the statue of their father, Eddard Stark, and Sansa mentions that there's nobody alive who remembers his face
because his face is doesn't look like him on the statue.
Right. Yeah, I think Arya is complaining that his face doesn't look like him on the statue.
Yeah, Sansa said there's nobody alive that remembers his face, and Arya says, I remember his face.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in the crypts talking about that. Arya asks Sansa if it's true that she killed Joffrey, that Sansa killed Joffrey, and Sansa says no. She wishes she had, but she didn't. And Arya's like, yeah, same here. He was on my list.
Yeah, that's when Sansa finds out about Arya's list. Although at first she kind of dismisses it like Arya just made a joke,
Yeah. She's like, what's your list? And my list of people I'm going to kill. And then they both kind of laugh.
Yeah,
they laugh it off. Arya's doing her like laugh, like evil laugh kind of smile.
Yeah.
And so they kind of have their little bonding moment there. Sansa says that Bran has returned as well. Arya gets really excited about that, but then Sansa seems a little bit worried.
Right.
I'm going to jump a little bit further back now in the episode. There's a moment where Littlefinger visits Bran in this episode, and Littlefinger pulls out the cat's paw dagger. This was like a scene that was in the preview for last week. They kind of made it look like Littlefinger was going to make a move on Bran, like he was going to try to kill him or something.
Right.
The way they cut the trailer, but it's nothing like that. He just pulled it out and then gave the knife to Bran. Littlefinger's trying to kind of endear himself to Bran. He says that it must be hard to come back from beyond the wall facing terrors that people don't even believe in, and then Witcher looks him right in the eye and says, chaos is a ladder, which, if you've kept up with your Game of Thrones, then you know that that was a line that Littlefinger said. And I think it was season 2, when Littlefinger and Varys were talking, and Varys referred to chaos as a pit. And
right.
was talking about how it's dangerous, and Littlefinger said, chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder. Well, this is basically Bran like saying, I know stuff to Littlefinger.
Right. Bran has like vision as a three-eyed raven. Bran can pretty much see everything.
Yeah.
So he can even see what Littlefinger has done.
His machinations.
His machination. So Littlefinger doesn't realize this. One thing significant about the cat's paw dagger is that it's Valyrian steel. Basically, this isn't an ordinary dagger. This isn't even like a fancy dagger. Like it has like, a special handle and stuff, but that's not. This is literally one of the rarest items in the kingdom. Like Valyrian steel weapons belong to houses.
Yes. It's very rare. We know it kills White Walkers. It's one of the few things it does. It's a lost art. Valyrian steel is so rare that House Lannister actually couldn't have their own Valyrian steel sword because they were a relatively new house when Valyrian steel became so rare. And Tywin Lannister was obsessed with getting them a Valyrian steel sword, but wasn't able to for years. He finally ended up getting them 2 Valyrian steel weapons by melting down the official Stark's Valyrian steel sword ice that Ned had. It was a massive sword that he melted down into 2 swords. One that he gave to Jaime, who Jaime gave to Brienne, who Brienne has now up there with them, and another that he gave to Joffrey, who Jaime is now using that sword. So that shows you how rare Valyrian steel is, that this is like such a huge deal for even like somebody as wealthy as Tywin Lannister.
So, and Littlefinger knows this. So for Littlefinger to just hand Bran a Valyrian steel dagger, there's got to be some motivation, some machination behind that. That's not just, he's not doing that out of the goodness of his heart.
Yeah. He's got some kind of plan in mind, and that takes us to our next scene, which is Sansa and Arya visiting Sage Bran, as I'll call him now.
Sage Bran. He's the three-eyed raven. He's not Bran anymore.
They're visiting him at the Weirwood Tree. Bran is, his typical, unimpressed self. Arya comes back. She hugs him. He says, "So you came back. I saw you at the crossroads. I thought you were headed to King's Landing."
Yeah.
And she said, I did too. And Sansa's like, why would you go back to King's Landing?
And then he says, to kill Cersei.
That's what Bran says, yeah.
Yeah. To kill Cersei, kind of outing Arya and her list being serious. This is
even more than that. He says it in a way that is more like rings a bigger bell because he specifically phrases it. Cersei's on her list.
Oh yeah, that's right. He specifically phrases it. So now, what Sansa may have dismissed as a joke earlier, she realizes is serious, and so now she's starting to have concerns about Arya. Bran pulls out the dagger. He gives it to Arya. He has no use for it. And I think
he says, what does a cripple need a weapon for?
Yeah, what does a cripple need a weapon for? You can infer a lot of things from this. You could say, as a three-eyed raven, Bran already knew Arya would need the weapon and gave it to her. There's a lot you can interpret there. I won't go into it, but the last part with Arya and Winterfell is that Arya confronts Brienne and demands that she train her.
Mm-hmm. She says, "I need you to train me," and Brienne's like, "Oh, I can get a castle guard to help or something," and she's like, "No, the castle guard didn't defeat the Hound."
Yeah, you did.
So Brienne offers to do it. Arya pulls out Needle, her sword that Jon gave her. Brienne kind of advises against it, saying it's a very small sword.
Right, she's got this huge broadsword. Again, what you said, Valyrian steel,
Oh, she's not using her Valyrian steel sword, though. She's using just regular.
She's just using a regular broadsword. So she's
if she was using her Valyrian steel sword, she'd be cutting through Podrick's sword when they were dueling.
So Arya has Needle, and Brienne's got this huge broadsword. You think it'd be a pretty one-sided match?
Brienne's a big woman. She's like 6'5", so
yeah.
she's physically imposing. She's gonna have a big sword,
Yeah.
And it's for Arya to, Arya's small, but her sword is small even for her stature. So now that she's grown up a bit, Arya immediately goes into a water dancing stance, which is something we saw in season 1 when she was being trained by Syrio Forel, back when her father was alive and she was in King's Landing. So it's kind of like more of a Spanish fencing kind of style of sword use. And so she's got kind of like holding the sword kind of behind her back and leaning forward. It's a different kind of stance. And so she's fighting Brienne with that. She's doing extremely well against Brienne. Now, of course, we know Brienne's not like fighting to kill.
Right. Brienne's just training. Arya is especially, energetic, I would say.
Yeah, she's fast. She's parrying kind of everything Brienne's throwing at her. She's got the advantage through pretty much the whole thing. I mean, Brienne only gets really one good shot at her, which is she kicks her and sends her back.
Kicks her.
And even there, Arya like kick flips herself up and goes right back in.
Arya basically wins the match. She pulls out her dagger.
She gets the sword knocked away, and Brienne pulls the sword up to kind of end the fight. And Arya kind of spins around, flips the dagger around, and puts it to Brienne's throat.
Yeah, and then
at the same time. So,
at the time, Sansa and Littlefinger are watching this sparring match, and Littlefinger, who the hell knows what he's thinking through the whole thing? There's nothing you can get from his facial expressions, but Sansa, on the other hand, has a very deep expression of concern on her face watching this.
I read Sansa's expression as being, it could be that she's disconcerted, but it could also be a bit of kind of like a jealousy. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm so jealous of Arya and her crazy ninja fighting skills, but I mean like jealous in the sense that like, Bran's this like mystical, creepy, three-eyed raven. Jon's like going off to meet dragons. Arya's now like a ninja, and she's just like this lady or something, and I think there might be this kind of jealousy in there, like,
she did, Sansa did have some kind of magical transformative journey. She just had a series of horrible things happen to her.
Yeah, she didn't have a magical journey. She was raped. It's not exactly what you'd want. You wouldn't go, do you want a magical transformative journey, or do you want to be raped? I'll take the rape, please. It's just not something you're going to see. So there could be a little bit of jealousy there, and Arya is also bonding with Brienne, and that's kind of like the one special thing that Sansa had now, was she had this badass knight that serves her, but in fact, Brienne's duty was to serve all of them, to serve the Starks. That was what Catelyn sent her for.
Yeah, that's what Catelyn sent her for. That was her duty.
So now, like, she's not just serving, I mean, Brienne wasn't serving Jon Snow. Well, first off, because he's not a Stark, and second, because he didn't need her. But now it's like Sansa's kind of like, might feel like Brienne's attentions are being divided between 3 Starks now. And these other Starks, they already have this other thing they have going for them now. And so there could be a little bit of that in there, like there's been kind of a little bit of discontent with Arya, or not with Arya, with Sansa this season. And she's had a few moments where she seems like she was kind of happy, like when Jon left and put her in charge, and it gave her a chance to be kind of a leader. But it's like she's being overshadowed by her mystical siblings now. Yeah,
exactly.
Meanwhile, Littlefinger is watching on after Sansa leaves, reading something into the situation. He actually seemed a little bit happy with Sansa being upset. When Sansa kind of walked away, he kind of, a little bit of a smile crept up on his face.
Right.
I think he's like the shark smelling blood in the water. He sees a little bit of a divide. He sees an opportunity.
He's looking for opportunities, that's for sure.
Definitely. So that's it for our discussion. Check out our podcast. We record every Thursday night. It'll be up and available on Friday, kind of like first thing in the morning. So check that out as the Weekly Set podcast. You can find that by going to our website, TVEnthusiast.com, or just checking in our YouTube channel where all of our back episodes are. You can see our discussion of last week's episode there as well, both with a video like this talking about a specific scene, but also with a podcast where we talked about the full episode, which is what we're going to do again. So on the podcast this week, we are going to be talking again about Game of Thrones and Twin Peaks, the latest episodes, full spoilers, full details, full episode discussion. So check that out. The Weekly Set podcast, or TVEnthusiast.com is our website, and you can check out all of these episodes on our YouTube channel where this video is available as well. Until then, until next time, Valor Morghulis.
Valor Morghulis.